All right, we now welcome on Carlos Paez of Austin Peay. This is part of our One Hoosiers Take Player Spotlight. As I mentioned, Carlos, a junior guard from Austin Peay, averaged 8.9 points a game, 4.2 rebounds, or 4.2 assists and 2.6 rebounds a game this past season. Carlos, thanks for coming on.
No, thank you for the chance.
Of course, of course. So, real quick, I just want to get your story real fast. So, you're from Venezuela originally. You come over and you played at Sunrise Christian Academy in Kansas, and also played for Moken Elite as your AAU team. And with that, you played with, I believe, 12 other Division I players. So real quick, I just want to get your thoughts on kind of your journey uh, from Venezuela to ultimately ending up in Clarksville, Tennessee at Austin Peay. How you got there and how sort of the competition level at Sunrise Christian and then on the EYBL circuit sort of helped you to the position you're at now in the Ohio Valley.
Man, it's been a long ride, but I've gotten to play with and against a lot of great players. So that's helped me evaluate myself and just see where I'm at and just try to get better from there, little by little, always looking at the man in the mirror. Never comparing, but always, trying to get better because the level of competition just completely rose when I first got here. I spent my first year actually in a school in Orlando, and then I transferred to Sunrise. So even from that school to Sunrise, it was just like a completely different level. So every year I had to reevaluate. My junior year at Sunrise, I didn't really play much. Um, it was just not like I didn't really fit with what our team was.
Mhm.
So that first year was pretty rough, but like I said, I just look at myself in the mirror, just ask my coach, like, look, what do I have to do? Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. That whole summer, we spent a lot of time working out, working out, working out. Senior year, we were the number 2 team in the country. We were beating everybody. We won a lot of games. Um, and then after my senior year is when I played with Mocan. And the same thing kind of happened as it happened at Sunrise my first year. I had people in front of me, didn't really get to play. I got to watch a lot. And that was kind of how I learned, just watching and like, okay, like this is how this works. This is how I can get better. Like I never really just, pouted and never really was like, oh man, I'm not playing, I'm leaving. That summer, I actually had to stop playing summer ball to complete my summer classes because that way I could graduate. And my prep school year at Sunrise, it was amazing because I took everything I learned from that summer and I applied it to my game, and I just got better from there. And after like a month and a half of finishing my prep school year season, is when the opportunity to come here got to me. Like I was just at school working out. Like I was about to commit to a Division II school down the road, and I talked to my coach, and I was like, I think I'm gonna do it. He was like, just wait like 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, I trusted him because I've been there for 3 years, and he always like kept it real with me. So I was like, okay, he knows what he's talking about. Let's wait. And we're working out. They were about to go to Geico, and I was like practicing with them, just helping him and stuff like that. And then the coach from here and another coach from UMBC, they both were there watching the workouts and stuff. And I got the 2 offers, but I, as soon as I got Austin Peay, I wanted to come here. Like it was a no-brainer.
Mhm, mhm. That's quite the story. Obviously, you bet on yourself and continued, and now it's paying off for you. Um, Coming from Venezuela, obviously, couple NBA players, most notably Grievous Vasquez. In your bio, it talks about how Grievous Vasquez Foundation actually sort of helped you get to Sunrise. So how much did that sort of shape you? Have a close relationship with Grievous Vasquez? I personally have the NCAA basketball 10 on the Xbox, and he's absolutely unstoppable on Maryland. So
Yeah.
I don't know if he's still if you guys work out at all together. I personally, like I said, was a little too young to remember his full playing days, but I'm sure was recently in the NBA, obviously, and his foundation helped you get to Sunrise. So what sort of influence has he played on your game as a whole?
So growing up, of course, like kid from Venezuela, there's not too many NBA players. Um, I kind of did look up to him, but a lot of the things that he did, I couldn't do because he's a 6'5" point guard.
Mhm.
I'm 5'10", 5'11" in a good day with thick shoes, But it was always the the will, the determination, all those things. Like if you see his story, like he comes basically from nothing. He rose up from nothing. Um, and it's just like coming from Venezuela, not too many people make it like that. So that just inspired me. Meeting him during my first year here, I got to work out. I got to like be around him a lot, and I got the opportunity to learn a lot of his ways. When it came to like training, eating, like all those things, like life lessons, a lot of things. Um, but that's and on the basketball court, vision, determination, will, all those things. But it was more like outside of basketball that he was like a big influence on me. Um, but I also like the biggest inspiration, my biggest influence has been Diego Guevara, which was the reason Gravis wore number 21. So he's a guy that played in the 90s. I'm pretty sure he played for Charlotte 49ers. Um, and he was Gravis' idol, and he was my idol because he played for my hometown team when I was growing up. So I was like, I got to watch him like up close. Um, and I always like I wanted to be like him. Like he always had like this little swag, like always talking. He was a little chippy. So and I really liked that. And he was my connection to greatness. He was who made the connection. He was also the bigger influence of me going to Sunrise. Um, he visited the school before I even got there. Like he did all this stuff for me. He was like, it's a no-brainer, go there. Um, so yeah, that like the connection between me and Gravis, it's Diego, and Diego has been like one of his biggest inspirations and my biggest inspiration. I'm closer to Diego because he has stayed like up close to me this whole journey. Gravis, he was in the NBA, so he had things to do. We're still fairly close, but it's not as close as me and Diego.
Hmm. And you talked about sort of that playing style of Diego. Looking at just some of your guys' games this year and watching sort of your highlights, you do have that chip on your shoulder and you play with edge. I recall one game against Belmont, I believe that you were battling cramps or something, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
yeah,
And you ended up scoring 20 points, at 4 assists and only one turnover in 34 minutes of action. So as you sort of, with Diego's influence going throughout the season, now you'll be even bigger leader as the point guard, and also with the departure of Terry Taylor. So how much sort of do you hold that influence on the court? You do play with a chip on your shoulder. What sort of is your mentality game by game and sort of throughout the season? Because number one, as the point guard, you got to kind of control things. And number two, you're sort of the life of the team. So how does that version of Diego continue to relate to your game?
So he, I always, we always talk after my games, before my games. It's just like routine. Um, but like he's always telling me like, stay true to who you are, like do what you do, um, and like that's it. Like things are gonna work out because now a lot of times people like when there comes big games, a lot of players are like, oh, I gotta like try to show out this and that. Like it brings a lot more out of me, but it's not like I gotta do extra stuff that like I don't usually do, you know? It's always just like it brings the best version of myself. But he always tells me like, don't just let the big games like bring the best version of you. Like do it every game. That way you stay consistent. Cause I'm like you could tell by my numbers that there's sometimes that there's like slumps, like 2 games that I just like go down a little bit. That's what happens. Like he's always on me like, don't let that happen. That's why you gotta treat everybody like it's the same. And like that's how he is trying to teach me, or like he's always like trying to tell me, do what you do every game. Doesn't matter. Like you might score a lot one game, you might not score a lot the next game, but you do your job. Like taking charges, taking offensive fouls, like I don't know, dive on the floor, do those things that will bring life to your team. And the scoring, that's when it comes. Like you can't control that. You can control the energy you bring, the mentality you bring. And coming from where we come from, like you always I'm sorry.
No,
Coming from
all
where we
good,
come
all good.
from, like I don't know, we everybody that comes here becomes an inspiration for so many kids back home that just don't get the chance. So I always, yeah, we always keep that in the back of my head. Um, I want to influence like my little cousins that are growing up. Like I want the little kids that went to the same school I went to when I was back home to think like if he can make it, then I can make it. Maybe not here, but like anywhere else. You know what I'm saying? So I always
Hmm.
keep that like I always look at it as I think there's like 27 million people in Venezuela. I always keep it as like you're representing 27 million people. Like it's not just about you. Like it's bigger than yourself. Like anybody can be watching. Just be a good influence. Like be an inspiration for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, with you being the first Venezuelan, this is going back to high school, to play in the Basketball Without Borders camp in Los Angeles. It certainly seems like you are that influence for so many kids. Are you able to go back to Venezuela at all during the off season, or how often sort of do you get back there? And when there, are you able to sort of play with your cousin or do any camps or anything like that?
No, so I went my first 2 summers, so 2016, 2017. But after that, I've always had stuff like that year that I had to do summer school. My first year, um, before I got here, I had to be here the whole summer and do, summer school. You know how they put the freshmen in school already.
Hmm.
Last year, Corona hit, like, so it's always been something ever since that year. But hopefully, I'll get to go soon. I do stay in contact with them. And there's like kids at the school I went to back home. Uh, I don't know, the coaches always ask me to send videos and like do little things like that. That maybe I can be there, but I still like stay involved.
Hmm. Absolutely. You mentioned school a couple times. I want to shift gears a little to that with you. Your major is sports broadcasting.
Yeah.
And obviously with my interest, I'm communications. So sports journalism type field. So is there anyone with that field that you look up to, or how did you get into sports broadcasting, to where you'd pick it as your major at Austin Peay?
Uh, It was one of my favorite players, actually. His name is David Cubillan. He's also been like a big influence for me, just him as a player. Like he had like a lot of fire, so I really liked him. And he played for my hometown team the last couple years that I was home. Um, he was a sports journalism major or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked it up and I was like, I want to know what this is. And so growing up, I had an older brother. We only had one TV. So we'll always be watching sports. We rarely ever watch like cartoons or things like that. And we'll watch all the ESPN like shows and things like that. So I learned about a lot of stuff that maybe like I don't know how to play golf. I've never played tennis, but like I knew like uh, things about those sports. And I was like, I would like to be able to just sit in front of a camera and just talk sports, or maybe behind a microphone, like a podcast or something, and just talk sports. And it's related to something I like, like I love sports. I
Mm-hmm.
love every sport. I might not be able to play it. I might not enjoy playing it or watching it, but it's sports at the end of the day. And sports are just like a huge influence in everybody. Whether you like it or not, whether you accept it or
Yeah,
not,
I
sports has
agree. I
some kind
agree.
of influence in everybody. So I don't know. I just wanted to be involved with sports, and I was like, I think that's the ease, like not the easier, but like what I would be best at, just sports broadcasting. And the good thing is that I get to learn how to do multiple things. Like
Mm-hmm.
it could be in front of the camera, it could be behind the camera, it could be helping, I don't know, set it up, all those things. But at the end of the day, I'm around sports. So that's what I like about it.
And that's what's most important. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, so with that after school, then are you planning on, I guess, still a junior? So lots of room to grow. And obviously, would the NBA be your end goal, or would you consider going back home to play, or maybe right off the bat pursuing a job in the sports broadcasting field? What would you what would the ideal, if everything goes well, what is Carlos Paez doing after Austin Peay?
See, growing up, I wanted to go to the NBA, and I still would like to, but I mentioned like looking at yourself in the mirror and evaluating yourself. I know that I don't quite fit with the NBA game. I don't quite enjoy that type of game. So, like, it kind of changed. I want to play in Europe. I want to play
Mm-hmm.
professional basketball in Europe. Um, as of right now, but if things maybe change, I don't know. Coaching is a little interesting for me. I really like it, and like I said, like I always think about inspiring and like giving to others. So whatever I learn, I could give it to like kids that are coming up, things like that. Playing in Venezuela, maybe eventually, right off the bat, I don't think so. But yeah, playing professional basketball is probably the goal.
Mm-hmm. And with that, you're now obviously a junior. Like I said, you took a big jump going from freshman to your sophomore year. And now with junior year, a little different season. Now, new coach Nate James comes from Duke. And you'll have a lot of turnover on this squad. You had a couple guys transfer, as I mentioned, Terry Taylor departing, going pro, and you bring in some guys. Tariq Silver from Oregon State, Cam Copeland from College of Charleston. What ultimately made you stick around in Clarksville? And sort of what is your relationship now? I don't know how much interaction you've had with head coach Nate James, and what ultimately made you decide to stick around.
I think it was the environment that we had when he first got here. We had a couple of people that ended up leaving, but at the end of the school year when he came and we got to work out, his ways, his passion, like the environment that we had was just it was different, it was better, it was special. And Sunrise was probably like the best experience of my life. And it's because I felt like Sunrise is home for me, basically. I can go there anytime and like I'll be welcome and like I would love everybody there forever. And he seems like he'll make this place even more special than it already is. You know, I know I could have left, but I've always been like the type of guy that would be like, why leave when I could stay here and make history here? You know, why leave when I can stay and be part of the change? And with all the good things that he brought, I'm not saying like I'm gonna play like as much as I played, or maybe I'll have a different role, but I know I will be having fun, you know? So, and that's what's important for me because I'm not going to do this if I'm not having fun because what's the point? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing that made me stick around. Environment, just knowing that I'm going to be having fun playing for him. A lot of the guys that are coming in, like I've been working out with Tariq for like 2 straight weeks every day. So I already have a good relationship with him. I know Caleb because so Diego lives in Charlotte, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where I go for my summer to work out there and stuff. And I met Caleb, the one that's coming from UNC Charlotte. We got to work out together, so I already know him. Cam, all the guys that are coming in, they seem to be very like receptive. Uh, I think that's the word. Like they accept that they're coming into a new team and that there's people that's been here before. And maybe I owe them respect just as much as I want them to respect me. Um, but I think we all have a good relationship. We're all ready to just do what we have to do in order for us to win, which is the end goal. As we have fun, because
Mm-hmm.
there's no fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not gonna win if you don't have fun. So
And with that, last year, end of the season, obviously not the end that you guys wanted, bounced from the Ohio Valley Conference tournament, but you personally, last 3 games, you played 95 minutes combined and only had 4 turnovers. And as a point guard, that is just exceptional. So what can we expect from Carlos Paez going forward? And what can we expect for the Austin Peay Governors in this 2021-22 season?
and like that's a crazy stat, but I didn't
It
know that.
is.
But
It is.
um, I think what we can expect from us is just guys that are coming in doing what they have to do, you know, playing with that chip on their shoulder, just being fiery. Like, I don't know. For what I've seen from the other guys, they're just fiery. Like, they want to just go to war. And as we have fun, just, I don't know, the swagger of the whole team is just going to be like chip on their shoulder, have fun, and just trying to roll through everybody. And we can expect great things for us, like, for sure. For me, just like I said, do what I do. Just keep grinding, keep being the light of the team, leading my team by example, doing the little things that you don't see in the stat sheet, but that influence the game. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I gotta get better at the turnovers, which I did at the end, as you said, but I gotta
Yeah.
get better still.
Well, you heard it here first. Expect lots of energy from head coach Nate James. Good culture out of Clarksville, Tennessee, with Austin Peay this season. Carlos, I appreciate your time. Best of luck this season.
Appreciate you, man.
Have a good night.
You too.